Nino Michèle Audette, president of NWAC.
And can you please describe the situation with missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada?
Describe the situation, I would describe a national tragedy. For me, we all know somebody close to us, either a sister, a friend, a daughter, or an auntie, a brother, or etc., who lost a daughter, a sister, or a grandmother, and that situation which is missing or murdered by somebody we still don't know. And the work that the NWAC did for so many years, it was to prove to this federal government that there is a national tragedy across Canada. Over 600 women are still with no justice today, so for me that's unacceptable.
What do you see as being the causes of the problem?
There's many causes. One of them could be the colonialism, the système colonialisme, the systemic discrimination, the residential schools, the extreme poverty, the depossession of the land. There's many reasons, but I would say also that the extreme violence that we're facing Indigenous women across Canada, and I would say also that the extreme poverty that we're facing every day in our communities may push us to leave the community, go on an urban area and end it on the street. And some of our women that we lost across Canada were in that situation. They were really in extreme poverty.
And what do you think are some things that could or should be done to address the problem?
Well, there's many things, of course. Let's say some of our women just disappeared because they were hitchhiking to visit a friend a few kilometers further. Some of us just because they were dark skinned, and for non-native people the discrimination in that area was so high. So there's many actions that we can do, and if I started as a national, let's say, organization such as NWAC, we demand and urge the federal government to have a national public inquiry from an independent body. We don't believe in a task force. For me, if the federal government is naming somebody within his own government structure, I'm afraid that the transparency, the work, and the involvement of the organization won't be there. So a national inquiry is really important, along or also a national plan of action for Aboriginal women that would include the development economic, education, and promoting nonviolence in our communities. Public awareness is one of the solutions to get the support from the Canadian society, your support, you as a human being, as a man from Canada. Of course, we need some concrete action at the community level, at the city where urban women lives, and of course our own leadership, the chief across Canada, the organization that exists for Aboriginal people, the Métis, the Inuit. We need those governance structure to put in place, also measure activities or program to promote the nonviolence. So it's a society crisis, so we need to work together, all of us.
Yeah, and you mentioned before what NWAC was doing to show the federal government that there actually was such a problem. Can you describe a bit about the work of Sisters in Spirit?
Well, the work of Sisters in Spirit, it was way before I got elected, of course, but I remember a former president, Terry Brown from BC, in the year 2000-ish, was really touched or concerned about the situation in Vancouver, downtown Vancouver. And then it became bigger and bigger, and the other former president took over that task to show the Canadian society, but also the federal government, that there is a crisis right now, that we're treated differently because we're Aboriginal women. So of course we had some research, we had some programs on to put in place a database for the missing and murdered Aboriginal women. That's the tool that helped us to prove that there are more than 582 women missing or murdered. And the work was done. The mobilization, the public awareness was there. So yes, we did a lot of work in 5 years with Sister in Spirit.
And now it's Evidence to Action as a program of NWAC?
Exactly, Evidence to Action.
And what is that?
Well, Evidence to Action, for me, the way I understand it and the way I see it, the way I feel, because I'm inside this organization every day, I'm glad that it's not ending, it's not finished, because yes, it's not the same name, it's not Sister in Spirit, but I see a team, I see women, I see people across Canada who still push. The difference, I would say, that I notice, we don't do research anymore like we used to, and the database is not the way I wish it should be because of government funding. So this is my job, this is my duty and my commitment to make sure that we can revive this database, to make sure that we maintain. But I still was concerned, and I asked my colleague here, what do we do when we know that there's a woman missing or got murdered and we don't have justice at the end of that, that tragic event, and we still collect some information. So we can say for the past couple of years that it's sad to say that there's every month 2 women are murdered or missing every month here in Canada, Aboriginal women. So because of the work that we do and the concern that we have on this situation, as NWAC, we're still involved on that, and we do public awareness, we do tools with the EDA, I guess in English, the acronym. We do tools, we want to make sure that the frontline workers, the policing or the people who works at the grassroots or on the ground, that they have the proper tools to how to intervene or how to work when we have a missing or a murdered Aboriginal woman.
You mentioned the funding cut and the change of name that I think was imposed by the government. The Sisters in Spirit program was no longer that name. Can you talk about the effect of the reduced funding and the cutting?
Well, I would say it hurts the families. It did hurt the families. It hurt the board. I was there when I was almost there when that name changed with the Quebec Native Women Association. And it hurts also the staff, because we have to remember that for the first time somebody was asking me what happened to my sister, to my mom, or to my auntie. And suddenly it became a non-isolated event. It became a national event where I'm not the only one who had to go through that pain or that experience. So we were able to mobilize and bring together under a same roof, a big tent, let's say, those families, and to express and share their stories. And from that we collect some information. And as a political organization, it was helping us, and it's still helping us to bring those situations, those realities or needs to the federal or provincial government. So there were lots of work to be done. And it's still, for me today, if the name change, the reality is still there. The crisis is still there. The national tragedy is still there, and NWAC is still there. With or without funding, we have people working here at the office. We have families across Canada who does some vigils or activity or tools. We have some leaders who stood up a couple years ago, last year, at the Assembly of First Nation, who decided to work with NWAC and say that is enough. zero tolerance. We need a national inquiry. So it's changing. Even if the name changed, I strongly believe that we're still advocating and fighting to make sure that it doesn't exist anymore, that kind of violence that Aboriginal women are facing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And these vigils, which you mentioned, are still called the Sisters in Spirit Vigils.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, because we do it for them in remembrance, to remember I even use a former name that I think it was with Terry Brown, the former president, and I think it's really appropriate. Our stolen sister, they were stolen when they got killed or when they disappeared. So for us, it doesn't matter funding or not. It's in remembrance of our sister in spirit that day, October 4th. And it is nice to see that a woman came in 2001 and said, I'd like to do something for my mom. And her idea was here in Ottawa. At the same time, another woman in Vancouver had the same idea, but not the same date. And at the end, today, NWAC, I am so proud to say that NWAC is coordinating over 150 vigils across Canada, the state, Mexico, and Bolivia. It's amazing, and the dream of NWAC, and I hope it's the dream of the families also, that it become around the Mother Earth, that it become an international movement to tell the international community that missing and murdered Aboriginal women, Indigenous women, shouldn't exist, please, shouldn't exist at all. We don't deserve that.
Are there any other thoughts?
Well, my thought is that I want to say thank you to all the families across Canada who, within their own organization or from them to do those events across Canada to remember our stolen sisters, and NWAC, along with other organizations. We had a good meeting today with the other national organization, and mostly men were there, and they're all affected by that. They have a niece or a sister or a cousin who disappeared or got killed, and every day, women are in my prayer every day. So if we can give you a big hug, I would say, October 4th, well, I'm giving you one personally. I'm saying that to the women who lost a daughter or a sister or a mother. Merci beaucoup.